Okay, we're gonna try and work on the radio on this thing. As you can see, I already tried to dust it off as best as I could. It's not as bad as it used to be. But anyway, yeah, the radio is very weak. AM only picks up like 2 stations and FM doesn't work at all. I'll try and demonstrate what happens on AM. Okay, that's AM. Pretty weak. Second stations there. Sounds like a third station, but it sounds more like a... Maybe that's noise from like a power supply or something. 4, I think. Fourth station. Hear a fifth one in there. It's late at night right now, so it's... usually in the day I think it only picks up like 2 stations, but I mean... Might be wrong about that, but I mean the point is that they're very weak. So I'm going to try and see if I can align the IF and see if that does anything. So let me fetch my signal generator. I have my signal generator hooked up. All I did was throw a clip lead over this thing. Can't find my probes anyway. It's not necessary, I think. The weird thing is that this thing seems to be picking up the IF at like 600 kilohertz. Right now it's at 455 right there. You don't hear it till it's like 590. It's supposed to be right there, which is very weird. I mean, I find it sort of hard to believe that this thing would be detuned so far. So I'm going to try and move these things around a little. I already marked them. Actually, I should mark them a little bit better this time. But yeah, okay, so the signal generator is going. This is local oscillator. This is first IF. I doubt we're gonna get anything to happen. Yeah, the IF is screwed up big time on this thing. In any case, we'll probably just be able to tune it to that weird, like 600 kilohertz. Yeah, but nothing I'm doing here is making any difference. The IF cans for AM are marked. They're labeled AM. The ones for FM are labeled FM. Yeah, so something's screwed up. Yeah, so by the way, you're supposed to be using like a plastic tool in these things, but I mean that wasn't the cause of the problem I was having. And if you're gonna use a screwdriver, you gotta be really careful not to break the ferrite thing in there, the slug. But anyway, yeah, no amount of adjustment does anything to this thing. This is just a tool I made up of. I think it was like a makeup tool or something. But if I set this thing to 600 or whatever it was, like 590, what it liked before, it actually doesn't pick it up unless I pretty much turn this thing all the way in. And right now it's not capturing it, and I think what's actually going on is that it's actually picking up a harmonic, because 590 is already, I think, within the tunable range of the AM band. So if I turn this thing all the way down, there it is. So it almost seems like the IF is not working at all or something, because if I tune somewhere above the band, like I'm gonna tune right here, like in the middle, there's nothing there. You can't hear anything. I'm gonna put it right now. That's at 590, and you can't hear that thing anymore at all. no matter what I do. So I tried toying with the local oscillator, the trimmers on the capacitor there. The thing about this though is that it's full of crud down here. Like somebody put too much oil on there and it got full of fuzziness and stuff. But I mean, it seems to tune fine, it's just that it's really weak, so I'm not really sure if that's completely the problem. It might be affecting the FM more than it is the AM, but the AM stuff seems related to the IF. The only thing I do see is there's this orange wire here and it seems to bring voltage to the AM circuits. And there's this resistor here and then there's this test point here marked AM and it's labeled 6.5 volts and it only reads I think 5.1. So low voltage it seems, maybe something's drawing too much current. That resistor doesn't seem hot, although I'm not completely sure if it actually is related, but I think it is. I do see this capacitor here. But yeah, I mean, it seems to use the same IF transistors for both AM and FM, it just switches the cans or something. So I think this problem is IF related, and I think that's why the FM isn't working at all. Let me play with this thing a little bit more. So I don't know if I already mentioned this, but the other thing that I noticed is that in order to tune in anything, whether it be the signal generator or actual radio stations, I have to tune this IF can all the way down. Right now it's all the way down. That's as far as it'll go without me breaking it. If I back off on it, I don't know if you can hear the static on the speaker right now, but if I back up on it, it starts to quiet down. And right now the signal generator is set for 455. And once I tune this all the way down, you can actually start hearing it. And it actually does not depend on tuning anymore. But I mean, even static or radio stations, everything is depending on this thing being all the way down. That's the only way it gets louder. These ones over here aren't as crazy. These aren't really, their peak isn't really that far off from where they were originally before I touched them. So they seem to be acting more or less okay. Yeah, these ones aren't as crazy. If I move them anymore, it dies down, but if I move this one to a sort of normal middle position, it dies down. It has to be all the way down. Super tight. And the other thing is that I don't know if I mentioned this here, there's these test points. This one's marked 6.5 volts AM. That voltage goes away if I turn it to FM. There's another one over here, 6.5 volts, and I think this one is the IF. That one doesn't go away, whether I put it in AM or FM. So I think that's the IF voltage. The crazy thing is that it has 30 volts coming in directly to one side of the resistors, and then the resistor is the one that drops it down to 6.5 or so. This one here measures about 1 volt lower, so that might have something to do with it, although it's not that crazy of a difference, but who knows. Maybe this capacitor is related. These guys here, I'm going to check around this one, because this one seems the most weird to me. This one's over here seems to be acting normally. This guy's the weird one. Messing with the local oscillator and stuff is not really going to do anything. So yeah, let me check around there and see what I find, if anything. Okay, so the problem turned out to be the IF can here. First I tried swapping these two capacitors, also tried swapping this guy with no difference, and swapped out the IF can, and now it's working pretty good. There it is. The can came off of it. It was kind of difficult taking it off, but I guess the problem is that little capacitor under there. If you watch that Daewoo IF video I did, that's kind of what made me think it was the cap too, because I had to, tune it all the way down and stuff. So I swapped this out and it worked perfectly. Probably could fix it if I took out that cap and bridged another one underneath the circuit board, but I don't know what value it is, and I had one of these on hand anyway. I took it out of the circuit board over one of these old transistor radio circuit boards. Came out of one of those novelty radios that's shaped like a car. But anyway, yeah, everything's working pretty good now. Let me see if I can turn this up a little. You can hear it no longer does that thing where... Yeah, let me turn on my signal generator as well. turn on the RF. If I turn this thing in, it starts to fade out. If I turn it out, it starts to fade out as well. Been trying to sort of peak it. That sounds about right to me. Turn the RF down a little. Oops. Yeah, that sounds about as good as I can get it. Okay, around and like re-peaked everything. You know, with a little bit more calmness, not having to hold the camera at the same time. And she's sounding pretty good, clear difference. Even in the in-between spaces, there's a lot more static and like noises it picks up, where before it was just 2 or 3 stations and everything between was dead. And really only like 2 stations of those 3 were really audible. Not much around the AM band around here, kind of drops off on the low end. A lot of the stations you'll hear are actually kind of far away, so it actually does pretty good. And I'll just demo it tuning around the band here.
Saluda Jaime Ramírez y vamos con un avance de las noticias.
Kind of far off station there.
Construcción de instrumentos prehispánicos y mucho más. Taller para niños, jóvenes y adultos. Todo esto.
All this whining stuff, whining noises, I think is something around my house that makes that noise.
A mediados del año 1833 llegó a Salamanca la epidemia del cólera morbus.
Yeah, band dies off on the bottom end, but you hear a couple stations over there that are kind of far away. Kind of need to lube up this tuning capacitor because it's a little bit hard to tune sometimes. But yeah, I mean, lots of more activity than it was before. Next we'll try and do the FM, because that's still not working.